What's up, y'all? You know what time it is. It's about to be that time.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. One Piece 1145. Looks like there's some wrestling talk in the chat. Are we getting some new giants this week? And is it furthering the naming scheme agenda that we've been talking about? I'm gonna assume so. And if that's the case, that would be mild spoilers in the chat, guys. But who knows? I don't. Let's get into this. Big Stinky said, any math piece today? I mean, if we get Loki's Devil Fruit, then it would kind of be 100 chapters from Luffy really utilizing the Nika Fruit, you know, so maybe there's something there. If not, then I don't know. Shout out to Paths, member for 16 months, said, have I seen the new opening and ending of the anime yet? I saw the opening, I didn't see the ending. I did not see the ending. But I did watch the opening. Very Kuma-coded. I mean, I feel like the opening was just all Kuma-coded. Kuma and Bonnie, obviously, yeah. Shout out to DK, member for 27 months. Like, subscribe. Savage. Hey. Ollie said, is Macho Man Morley? No, Macho Man is Hyruden. Randy Savage used to, the Macho Man, he used to wear shutter shades. So Oda is referencing that with Hyruden. Yep. Alright, let's get into this chapter. This is an interesting image for Viz to start on. Looks like it's from the anime. I feel like it's a key promotional image for the anime. Yeah, Manga Plus has it too. Technically on page 3 now. Okay, so Wildfire in Forest Sector 2, Branch Route 8. That's a mouthful of a chapter title. Okay, so Yamato has the sword back. Ulti's hugging page 1. Still seems to be chained up in what is probably Sea Stone. Pepe's still alive. Alright. Moving forward. Starting off strong with a double page. Alright, so we got Growl. Here comes Nash. Okay, so this is the first time that I can think of that we're actually seeing Goldberg talk to their shield, which seems to be a homie. And it is moving on its own. Wait. Or getting thrown. But the way it's drawn almost implies, like, he's either walking on his own or he's just afraid that he's gonna get hit. Okay, so this dragon-like thing smacks into the shield. hopefully we get some context on this. Like, I really want to understand who put the homie in there. For me, it, like, I feel like it had to have been Caramel, but I don't know. But if it is Caramel, it's going to, you know, explain some things. So, let's see. Ooh. Okay. Okay. Wait a second here. We're bringing back Arm de l'Air? But instead of Gomu shoot? This is literally one of my favorite moments in Drum, so I like this. And technically, this is also revisiting Davy Backfight. But instead of Power Shoot, this doesn't even really have a Zoro-coded name here. It's just all Sanji. But anyway, love that. Moving on to the next page. This should be page 6 we're on already. We're flying through this. This looks like good eating. I mean, it's huge even compared to giants. There seems to be a lack of danger here. Have we moved away from Loki completely at this point? Anyway, Groggysaurus is considered a delicacy. Takes a while to carve off all the fat, but it's great when stewed in alcohol. Yeah, but you didn't bring any of that with us, right? There's a whole set of cooking tools in the hunting shed. Let's look for some aromatic herbs on the way back. Hey, what's the deal with this guy, huh? Is it a devil fruit? Nice, let's get an answer for this. That shield came to life like that way back years ago when my dad went on an expedition to vanquish Big Mom. Oh, so he's like Zeus then. You guys know Mr. Zeus? He's like one of the most exalted homies. What a line. One of the most exalted homies. Now he's a manservant to our navigator. What? Also, just a light flex from Zoro and Sanji carrying this gigantic dinosaur. Do we know who Goldberg's dad is? Maybe it'll come out in this chapter, but... Okay, so... It's not Caramel. Big Mom put a part of her soul into that. Which, you know... I mean, it would be great if Big Mom showed back up and then pulled that soul out of the shield. You know, like we get attached to Nash here. And, and then it basically, like, goes away. And this is probably a reference, maybe, to Kevin Nash. Anyway, next page. Holy Knights? That's right, they showed up here. Humans from the world government. You're saying that's who beat you this badly? That's what I'm saying. You must have given them reason to seek revenge when you were rampaging beyond the sea. Don't be stupid. Okay, so more talk about Loki's exploits outside of Elbaf. Also, keep in mind, guys, about this Nash stuff and this Goldberg stuff is that, if I'm not mistaken, Goldberg was listed in that rundown in Big Mom's flashback as someone who was just being born recently, along with Loki. So Loki and Goldberg should be around the same age. You know, somewhere in their early 60s. You know, around 63. Back to the page. If I'd gotten far enough to run into them when I was out there, I'd be king of the world by now. King of the world? Okay, so he wants what Xebec wanted. Knights from the world government. Hey, you guys. Next page. Look what we caught. Whoa, that's huge. It's a Groggysaurus. Tasty and nutritious. I delivered the killing blow. You should have been there, and I've never seen such a graceful soaring broccoli. Zoro's gotta, you know, get that in there because he doesn't want Sanji getting any of the credit. Sanji gives him a backhanded compliment. Did you collect enough fallen trees? Yep, got a nice pile going. Thanks for the hunt. There we go, nice and cooked. Mmm, yummy, it's not just for you. Eat up, Loki. Okay, so Luffy's burning him with the meat. Careful of his wounds. Next page. Are you trying to kill me? Hey, you're looking better already. Anyway, you need to eat if you want to recover. So, this is what's in Oda's methodology, probably. This is the moment when we eventually get a scene where Loki helps Luffy. It's going to reflect the same way that, you know, Luffy thinks about others. So-and-so fed me, so-and-so gave me this, so-and-so was nice to me, blah, blah, blah. That's why I'm helping them. So, Luffy is helping Loki. Loki will return this favor. Loki will return. Anyway, you need to eat if you want to recover. Chomp, chomp, chomp. Gulp. It's hard to swallow lying on my back. You can't sit me up first. So fussy. Okay, so they sit him up. Got something stuck in your throat. Hang on a sec. I'll bring soup. Alright, this is funny. So the soup's hot. Loki can see it bubbling from here through his bandages, of course. We need context of like what's going on with that. Stay away from me. So this is endearing. Oops, splash. He has more burns than before. Get him away from me. Hey Luffy, sorry, I didn't mean to. You too, Gerd? Is Gerd giving him a thumbs up for burning him? Anyway. What did this guy do to make all the giants hate him so much? Guessing he was lying when he made that promise with Luffy. Love Zoro just eating off of his sword. Even though that seems a little disrespectful to the sword, it's funny. Where to find red hair now? Sorry, but I wasn't lying about that. We'll be the judge of that. Go on and tell us. Why should I tell you when you haven't upheld your end of the bargain and unlocked my last chain? Next page. You really want to meet red hair that badly, huh? I suppose I understand how it feels to idolize a pirate you met when you were just a lad. Ooh, context here. 63 years ago. Ah, he's inspired by Xebec. That's my guess, just by, you know, his dream. Which really would be fitting if Blackbeard got shoehorned into this arc then. You make it sound like you feel the same way about someone. Yes, I did. And it pains me that I was only a boy at the time. Take me with you. I didn't come here to meet a whelp like you. Stop making me repeat myself. So, basically the first lines that I think we've ever gotten from Xebec. Still shrouded in silhouette, of course. But, interesting context. Ollie said, who are the three Rocks pirates to the right of the panel with Loki and Rocks? I mean, we don't know that they are, but they could be. But I mean, you know, this makes sense, right? Because God Valley was only 38 years ago. Loki's 63, so he would have had, you know, decades where Xebec would have been active to run into him. Next page. Oh. We're getting more. Okay. I like this. Fight me then. What? You don't have to use a blade on a kid. Shut up, Newgate. Well, if he didn't say Newgate, that would have been obviously Whitebeard. But that's interesting. So, confirmation that Xebec was a swordsman or used some sort of blades and was ruthless enough to cut up a giant kid. Chin said, how did Randy know it was Xebec? Because Loki, a few pages prior, said that he wants to be king of the world, which we know is Xebec's dream. So... Loki said, I was born in the wrong era. Isn't there another character that feels that way too? Well, I guess it's the whole idea of being too early. Kind of emulates Roger's thinking. Chat saying Pedro. Yeah, that's interesting. That's a good. That's an interesting connection there as well. So the next page, the Draugrs are like soldiers. Wipe them all out. So now we're back with Dory and Brogy, and they're fighting all of these drawings. Nightmares. So many ghosts, too, just like the things kids would be afraid of. Isn't that meant to be Loki? I'll handle him. Mr. Ya. Okay, we got our first attack from Scopper Gabon. Unnamed. Slices through the Loki drawing. Okay. Good thing these are based on a child's imagination. Would they be stronger if the kids knew the real thing? I'd rather not find out. Yeah, ha ha ha. Alright, there are more of them now. 3. a trio of abnormal voices. They can try to hide, but I still feel them. Okay, so he's using his observation hockey to know that the Holy Knights are here. Doesn't sound like he is recognizing Shamrock, so Shamrock really must be gone. If even Elbaf isn't safe anymore, then it's truly the end of days. Firefighting team, open the sea clouds, sea cloud hoses. Okay, will this even work? The flames are simply massive. We got these guys trying to put this fire out. Next page. And this is actually page 15. Firefighters, I'm so glad y'all made it, but could you pick it up a little? The kids are about to reach the flames. Looks like Saul took out Fenrir off screen. The valves are all the way open. It's the strongest stream we've got. She's giving it all she's got. Put out the fire. You can do it. Get them flames out. I'm begging you. Look at that, Gunko. The kids are about to burn to death. What happens? Will they wake up? Next page. They'll wake up from the heat, wail, and cry for their parents, and be consumed by flames and burned into bones, I assume. How about that? Now that's emotion. Sea Cloud. Oh, we getting Fireman Jinbe? What's wrong, firefighters? It's not going out. We're at max output. We had options. Stop, children. Okay, we got 1 foot going into the fire, and then we've got a shoulder throw. The return of Fireman Jinbe. Which was my nickname for Jinbe during Wano. During all of that Raizo water stuff. I feel like I said that last week or 2 weeks ago or something. I was like, are we going to get Fireman Jinbe back? So, that's obscure enough. I'm going to take that.
Another one.
There, that should do it. Is that in time? Over here, hop on. Way to go, Jinbe. I got the chills. Okay, so then the water splashes, putting out the fire. Everybody's happy. Wildfire in Forest Sector 2, Branch Route 8 has been put out. The kids are all safe. The children weren't harmed by the flames, but they're still marching onwards. That was a close one. We believed in you. Well done, firefighters. The guardian deities of Elbaf. It wasn't us, but at least they're safe. No kidding. See that, Robin? Jinbe must be nearby. Next page. Alright. That was so cool, Jinbe. So cool. Thank you, Jinbe. It's nothing. The kids at the school all hate me, but I think of them as my friends. That's so sweet, Ron. We're gonna save them together. Yeah. What? Who's that? Gunko appears. So I suppose the school isn't the only place to find a perky child. That seems like a weird line to use. Who's that? Okay. Okay, so what are we dealing with here in this last panel? We've got Gunko appearing, and the most competent out of anybody here is going to be Jinbe, but I think this is going to be really Brooke's time to shine based on the last chapter and the everything with the TDs and all that. So she is probably a fan, and she's going to start fangirling. So Brooke may end up being really effective here. She'd be wise to take out Jinbe as soon as possible, and it would be most interesting if she did, because, the rest of them are... I mean, even Brooke is not considered one of the top-tier fighters on the crew, so leaving it to essentially a child, Nami and Usopp, and Brooke, would be interesting. She could incapacitate Jinbe, and it would also elevate Gunko as like a threat if she handedly takes out Jinbe. So yeah, I think the only recourse here is for Jinbe to get low diffed for the narrative. And then we did talk about the possibility of these characters getting shoehorned into the Save the Children storyline because of Nami's proclivity to help children. So that has happened. So that through line is continuing. It makes the most sense for the narrative, but it does neuter Robin a little bit, because now she doesn't get to stand on her own. But if she gets involved in this Gunko fight and manages to put up a good chance, that could be fun. Within the next 3 or so chapters, would be nice to see the return of Demonio Floor, right? Just have Robin like really go off trying to fight Gunko. Even if she doesn't win, I don't think anybody should win against these Holy Knights right now, with it being this early into the arc and this early into their introductions. So you don't want to take the steam out of people that we're supposed to elevate here so fast. I liked the context on Nash the Shield. It's something that I've been thinking about for a long time, and we've talked about it a lot over the past probably at least the past 2 years, when we knew that Elbaf was looming, and we knew that the Giants would become something. I mean, we've been talking about it longer than that, but it's always been a thing where it's like, this shield obviously has a homie in it. What's the story behind that? So I would like to know who Goldberg's father was. The callback to Drum and Davy backfight with the team up between Zoro and Sanji, love that. All the stuff with Loki and Luffy was really funny. Context on Loki, kind of being a dark mirror to Luffy, following Xebec rather than Shanks, feeling that he was too early, born in the wrong era, characterizes Loki very well. So that all helps his character. Weakest part of the chapter is Dory Brogy and Gabon fighting the nightmares. Nothing really happened there. Other than the only thing that came out of that was that we know that Gabon knows that the Holy Knights are there. So with that, if things start getting wild, I could see Gabon go running and saving them in some way. So in the next 3 chapters, at the moment where it looks the most dire between the Holy Knights and the rest of the crew, that's when I think we'll get a named attack from Gabon fighting the Holy Knights. But again, it's like, I want him to push them back, but he shouldn't, like... Oda's gonna do one of two things. He's gonna, like, aura blast them to where they, you know, like, retreat, which neuters them a little bit, or they're gonna play on his age and that he's not as strong as he used to be or something, which neuters him. So and then it's like, you know, it's like you have to play that dance of, do you want to introduce this character into that situation? But I think he'll probably end up there anyway. We got Fireman Jinbe, which is a retread, but, you know, whatever. It saves these kids. And then Gunko appears, which is interesting. So this is the best chapter in probably, like, 4 chapters. A lot of the chapters recently have been set up. Not too much happening in them. Not moving they're not really progressing the story too much. There's been a couple of chapters where it's like, you know, there were like maybe 1 or 2 highlights. This one at least had, like, I don't know, like 5 or 6 highlights in it, and it was a longer chapter. So yeah, I can definitely say that this is the best chapter in a while. Definitively. And I feel pretty good about saying that. Shout out to SSG Constantine. Xebec is giving off major kid vibes for me. Similar shape. Think of both as silhouettes, similar eyes, similar desire for spreading lawless chaos. Maybe. You know, it's... I still think that there's an opportunity for Xebec to not be a bad guy. I mean, obviously he's, like, chopping up a kid giant here. But... I feel like it's still the misdirect. For me, I think it's more interesting if, like, you know, someone like Blackbeard, who also wants to be king of the world and follow in Xebec's footsteps, has a, you know, like, a wrong notion of what Xebec wanted. A poor interpretation, and maybe, you know, like, that's what's going on with, Loki as well. And we got a little shot of Whitebeard. I'm actually wearing my Whitebeard shirt today. Funny enough. Duran said, can't Gunko send the ship away using her arrows? Maybe. Lobster Magnet supered asking about Matt. I'm not gonna really comment on all of that, so, you know, don't necessarily, you know, don't ask about that. But, you know, that's our boy. So, you know, we ever see him in the chat or whatever, let's, you know, give him love. But season 2 is great. So it's not a bad omen. It's way better than season 1. Brandon King, Randy, have you heard Frankie's new voice actor thoughts? I feel like he's trying to carry the torch of Yao, even though he doesn't entirely match him. I only saw something on Twitter of like one line. Did Frankie speak at all other than that, or did he only have one line in this? I think, you know, we're not really gonna be able to judge what this guy is doing until we start getting into like the stuff where Frankie's like really moving and grooving, like when Saturn appears. But I don't know. Let's see. Alejandro Salas, member for 22 months. Thoughts on Whitebeard being Rox's vice captain? I don't think so. I mean, maybe. I guess there's an interesting element to that. But it's like, it's the thing that... The fact that Whitebeard is on his crew in the first place is what, like, is one of the biggest green flags. You know, it's like, this guy can't be that bad because Whitebeard is a great man. So... No Jedi said, Goldberg saying Groggy Saurus to Sanji awfully reminds me of Groggy as Groggy Ring in the Long Ring Longland, and it being a dinosaur ties to the little garden where we first learned about giants. Yeah, and all of that's on purpose. And then not only that, the way that they take out the dinosaur is essentially how they finish the Groggy Ring as well. But it also symbolizes like a sense of growth, because even though they're still at each other's necks, it's not, you know, they're not arguing over who really, you know, got the bigger dinosaur here. It's just one dinosaur, and, you know, they work together to get it. Vishnu said, I'm late. Did we talk about Loki having the bandages on his eyes as a kid? Yeah, we talked about that last week. Or what was it, last chapter or the chapter before, when we got a little bit of a Loki flashback and we, you know, first saw that the bandages were over his eyes. Tomato said, thank you for teaching me a new word today. Proclivity. You got it. Ah, that's interesting. Brandon said that the Groggysaurus is also a strong world creature. That's interesting. So there were dinosaurs in Strong World also. Huh. Alejandro Salas said, I love that Luffy's feeding the fake sun god Loki. Well, you know, it's also, it's like whenever Luffy gets that damaged, right? What is he asking for? He's looking for meat. He's looking for some food. And then, so here's this guy who's supposed to, you know, be a version of Luffy in a way. And Luffy's doing everything in his power to help him in the way that would help himself. And there may actually be a different method for Loki to heal himself that isn't whatever Luffy's doing, but it's endearing. Brandon said, yeah, I don't know if it connects directly to Shiki showing up here, but it's interesting regardless. I don't think that Shiki would show up here. And at least not in this main timeline. But given that we're getting some context on Xebec, we could see Shiki in a flashback or something. Like, if this leads us to any sort of God Valley information or, you know, something from Gabon, then I think we would be due for some Shiki stuff, but do I think we're due for a new One Piece movie soon? It's been nearly 3 years since Red, said Jordan Vance. I mean, it'd be nice. I think we are due, but I feel like Oda's stretched thin, and if he wants to be involved with, you know, have a say in all of these movies, I don't know if he's got time for it right now. But another thing about it, too, is that when Oda gets involved with these movies, he inevitably, as we were just talking about the Strong World stuff and how these creatures are showing up in Elbaf, he takes ideas from himself, and then I've always believed he's had to, like, reorganize the story because he's gotten involved in these movies, and that some of these movie plots were, you know, steps along the way in the actual canon. But who knows? Brandon said, do you think we have to get the Rock's God Valley flashback this arc in order to fully understand Loki? No, because unless Loki was there at God Valley, it's not really going to play. But if we get a Loki flashback that reveals the silhouette of Rocks, and we get some context on you know, Rocks through Loki, then that's interesting. That I could see. You know, if we, like, I think in order to understand Loki, we need to understand why Rocks wants to be king of the world. And maybe we can get that, and then through that, we'll understand his motivations in God Valley more. I think that Loki as a character could give us more context on Xebec so that we're not drowning and needing that during God Valley, because God Valley is going to be like a lot of action. There's going to be plot, obviously, but I don't want to be like figuring out who Xebec is during the God Valley flashback, so this is a good opportunity to just get that all out. So this is like a taste, and then we might like get like a full Loki flashback, and Rocks will kind of be like the, you know, the Shanks, the Clover, the Hero look. Maybe. That could be fun. Usopp the God said, "Hey, what's up, Randy? Long time no see. Came to see your stream almost after 2 years. Glad to see your growth. Wish you the best health, lots of fortune ahead of you for you and your family. Heat on feet." Appreciate that, Usopp. And it's been a while since we had some heat on feet. We need some. Chin answering Saeed from earlier about how I knew that it was going to be Xebec while I was reading. And Saeed said, because Randy knows the story and pays attention. It's pretty much. That's pretty much the answer. Saeed confirming what I was talking about earlier during the read. Loki, Road, and Goldberg were the ones that were born during or around the Big Mom flashback. Shout out to everybody that's watching. Let's get these likes up, guys. We're looking at a 50% like ratio. So we still didn't get Loki's fruit, which is interesting, I guess, but whatever. Jordan said, "What would I like a new One Piece movie to be about?" I feel like I had an idea for this. What was it? I mean, I really just want like a fun adventure more than anything. Oh, that was what it was. I would love for them to find the Emerald City. Like, if I was going to write a One Piece movie, it would be like One Piece Green or something, you know? And it would, just a fun romp in the Emerald City and, you know, riff on movies like Wizard of Oz and stuff like that. In, you know, the very One Piece-y way of doing things. And some in an allegorical way, have Frankie be the Tin Man or something, and Usopp be the Cowardly Lion, and I guess Brook could be the Scarecrow, riffing right now. You meet the little kid of the arc that inevitably ends up being like the Dorothy. It's, you know, I'm seeing a lot of things in the chat about like shoehorning other characters into it, and like that gets complicated, you know, because it's like Stampede is fun, you know, like, yeah, you got Crocodile in there, you have, you know, Mihawk, you have pretty much like every character known to One Piece man, right? And but some of that could be like narrative breaking, and then it doesn't, and then you have questions of like, where does this fit in the timeline, right? Or how did they do this if they were doing this at the time around this? And it's like, I'd love to find something that just feels like it fits in a particular bubble of the story. And you know, you want it all to connect. But when it comes to the movies, like, that's not really the job of it. It's not meant to broaden the greater world all of the time. You use it to drop some sort of a hint or something, but yeah. Catching up on chat, trying to. Theory for Theory next week. I'd like to. Don't know yet who it would be with. So the community in general has been lacking collabs. Yeah. And a lot of the time when I've been hitting up people have just, it seems like they've just been, you know, a lot busier than normal. No Jedi, what do you think if Big Mom's role is going to be if she returns again to Elbaf? There's a few loose ends with her character that haven't been yet tied up with her in the story. Big Mom has so many things that she could do if she shows up. You know, there are a lot of loose ends that have not been tied up. And that's why I feel like Kaido could be dead, but Big Mom is still alive. I think that it's also implied by the end of Wano when Big News is talking about the Big Mom pirates. Like, they got away, and I think they got away with Big Mom. So she's been slowly recovering. She wants her revenge. She's gonna go to Elbaf to get it. I think if she returns, Blackbeard needs to show up with Pudding, and Pudding finally needs to use her ability effectively to, like, give Big Mom her memories back. That's what I've been saying for years. That Pudding's fruit, which is probably my favorite fruit in the whole series, has been extremely underutilized for what it has the capabilities to do. So, and then now with Nash and, you know, the lore that could come out from Goldberg's father and everything about Big Mom, I feel like there's a lot that could be done. She could be, you know, a part of, you know, whatever Ragnarok ends up being. You know, she has thunder, she has lightning, she has fire. She has all these properties and things that she could do that could lead to the destruction of Elbaf. Or it could be her redemption arc. All depends. Chin said Zeus meeting Nash could trigger his memories with Mother Carmel before changing into Big Mom Zeus. Well, I like the idea of Zeus and Nash having a conversation anyway. I wonder if Zeus would be able to unlock something in Nash of remembering anything about Big Mom. So I like that idea. What else is everybody talking about this week? Anything interesting in regards to the chapter? So is Nash able to grow in size? Because that's kind of unique. Because Nash is like huge in that last panel. I want to understand how that's happening. Does Goldberg have a devil fruit? Because, I mean, it would basically be the same thing as that owl. That's weird. Jacob said, so interested to find out why Loki loves Xebec so much and why his view of him changed. Yeah, I want to know more about that. And I think, I was mentioning it earlier, but I think that the opportunity for a Xebec reveal and like understanding Xebec during a Loki flashback is probably the best case scenario, because then God Valley doesn't have to be burdened with introducing us to the character. Platinum Fox said, I saw someone saying if Nash is the soul of Goldberg's dad, so the soul of a giant can make the shield giant? I mean, that sounds like some Oda logic. Neil said, poor Nash, his life revolves around getting hit in the face. Yeah. Will of Dreams said, shape-shifting soul like the Moria Ore's shape-shifting shadow. Yeah. Okay. Ollie said, what wrestling name for Goldberg's father is your guess? I mean, I'm still waiting for Flair. Big Rick. Woo! I think it's crazy that that one hasn't appeared yet. The Fureru. Kip said we need Cena. Yeah, that'd be fun too. But, you know, we also have John Giant, so maybe that's Johnny Boy right there. Saeed said it would be Furea. Uh-huh. Okay. Thank you for the correction. Yeah, we'll be looking for that. That's a good connection from Volkazard. I mean, I think it would be a little bit different, but it does sort of sound like Freya Odin's wife. We need Roddy Piper and Elbaf. Duran, we already have it, because technically it could be Rado, like Rado, but we also have Piper the Owl. So it's we've got some Roddy Piper. We have two options for that. Do I think Moon Piece is even possible in the story now? More than ever. I feel like we need it's the natural escalation for all of this. The top of the tree should be able to take you to the moon. For all they need the Bifrost to get them there. Also, we talked about it last week, but like Enel needs to come back, and there's a lot of things that can be done with that. Yeah, we've talked about Stanson being Stan Hansen. I don't know if we get an Enel and Luffy rematch. I don't think that wouldn't be very interesting to me. Like I've said, I need Enel to come back and like bow to Luffy. Like that's the progression of a character that I want to see. You are God. I was foolish to believe that I was. Like that kind of thing. What rematch would be interesting to me? I don't know if there's any. Because it's like, I'd want to say Crocodile, but at the same time, it's like, the interesting thing to me is that if Crocodile fights Sanji, because he never met Mr. Prince. So I would rather have Crocodile come back and fight Sanji than fight Luffy. If Sanji's heat turn him into glass. is there an interesting rematch in the story? I don't feel like Luffy and Katakuri ever have to fight again. I don't like the idea of an Enel rematch. Luffy and Akainu never really fought, so that wouldn't even be a rematch if they fought. I actually think the most interesting rematch, I don't know if we get it, I don't know if we need to. The most interesting rematch, actually, like I'll say this, even though the story, you know, like may dictate differently. The most interesting rematch for Luffy to have is Luffy versus Kuzan. Now that Kuzan, you know, like beat up Garp and all that stuff, and Kuzan like handedly beat Luffy, I would like to see Luffy, you know, like take down Kuzan. I think that would there's enough story there to warrant it. Like Luffy and Lucci was fun, but the story didn't even really need that. And Cypher Pole as a whole didn't add anything to Egghead. Like if we go back and we think about all of it, like what did they do that really like shifted the story? Like I feel like I could pull Cypher Pole out of that whole entire situation and it wouldn't change too much. The ripple effects wouldn't, you know, aren't that dire. I don't need a Luffy versus Charlos round 2. I feel like we got everything we needed to get out of that, and Leo and Sai attacking Charlos was kind of a spiritual successor to that anyway. I don't need another rematch between Luffy and Bellamy. What I would prefer is Luffy and Bellamy side by side fighting together in like Final War or something, or doing a teamed attack. Like that would be a progression. Luffy versus Buggy, there's ways to make that interesting. Like there's not in the sense that like it would be a good fight, but if it was like, you know, Luffy versus Usopp and Buggy was doing some tricks and everything, like his first real villain, like being one of the last people that he fights to get to Laugh Tale, there's ways to make it interesting. This is a fun exercise, trying to figure out like what would be an interesting rematch. Luffy fighting Doflamingo again doesn't do anything for me. Luffy actually beating Magellan would be interesting. You know, it's like the best rematches are the ones that don't have closure. You know, that's why I brought up the Kuzan one. He lost. Who did he lose against also? Magellan. So it's like I don't need it. I don't think there's story there, but it's like, you know, at least you can get story out of the Kuzan one. But there's ways to make it interesting just because he lost to him. Yeah. See what chat's saying. Redhead52, member for 26 months, said, Randy, much love. God Knight matchups. I want Gunko versus Robin. Summers versus Sanji, and Kieran Ham versus Usopp. Brandon said you wouldn't want a Luffy Akainu rematch. I would want a Luffy Akainu match. Like, I don't consider what happened to them a fight. Like, they didn't actually exchange blows. So, it's not a fight. I'd want him to actually fight him. But to label something a rematch, it has to be like Luffy versus Kazan. Chin said Smoker versus Luffy. So we've already had that rematch in I guess a couple of times technically, but I don't think we gain anything from Luffy and Smoker fighting again. I think we just continue this trend of them reluctantly working together. I think the days of them fighting are, you know, kind of over. In my mind. Enkidu says there's no drama with Magellan. Exactly, that's what I was saying. There's no story there. There's no reason for them to fight. Whereas like him versus Kazan is like fun. Saeed said Luffy versus Laboon or nothing. Well, that rematch actually is promised, so I think we're gonna get that. So that's a good one. Chin, I talked about Luffy versus Bellamy. I don't want a round 3 with Luffy and Bellamy. I want the round 3 of Luffy and Bellamy. I want them working together. Like, he's seen the error of his ways. He's part of the Grand Fleet. Like, the only progression in Bellamy's story is to fight side by side with Luffy. Combo attack, yeah, baby. Yep. Anything else people have been talking about this week? Because I think I might wrap up the stream here. Syed said Bellamy needs to give us the unbreakable Jolly Roger. That's gonna happen. That's gonna happen. I think I've said it before, but I think Bellamy doing a sacrifice play for Luffy is the perfect send-off for his character. There's just a lot of like thematic stuff that would come from that and make Bellamy like one of the greatest characters in the series. Anything new on OPLA? Always. Moria versus Luffy? There's no story there. You know, you get Moria in the Cross Guild, and then Moria just fights somebody else. Probably Jinbe again. See, there we go. Volkazard. Luffy rematching the building in Water 7 he got stuck in. Yeah. We go back to Water 7. Luffy clocks the building. He's just like, I know that one. They rebuilt it. And then he goes and breaks it again. Thoughts on Joe Trace? Love Joe. That building's the real threat here. Yeah. Gorosei versus Egghead building rematch. That's not going to work out for them. Building. Yeah, there we go. You know, I did put those Egghead buildings in my top 30. I mean, they shattered limbs of a Gorosei member, so... Hey. Alright, guys. If nothing else, I think I'm going to wrap things up. This was a solid chapter. Like I said before, I've been loving Egghead, but the last couple of chapters have been a little rough, and this one like kind of brought it back to form. And did I see the new episode? I saw the new opening. I didn't watch the episode just because it's like one of my least favorite chapters. So I wasn't like too like amped. You know, it's like they take a 6-month break and it's just like, hey, we get to come back to chapter 1089. And Oda skipped past all the stuff that would have been interesting at Egghead. So unless the episode like implies, you know, stuff that happened or like why Robin is actually hurt, I'll get around to it later. At this point, I feel like I'll watch the Kuma flashback in real time, and then I think the rest of it I'll just wait to binge when it's all done. Puchaku's gonna whip all these buildings into shape. Alejandro Salas, appreciate the super, said Gabon said that if they were the real monsters it would be bad. Will Killingham use adult imagination since they are thinking of them right now? That's a fun thought. Because if it's, you know, if he could do it with kids, create these manifestations from the thoughts of kids, he should be able to do the same with adults, right? So that could make him even more viable as a threat, right? Like if they're able to defeat these drawing, like you know, not to get into like power scaling or whatever, but if it's like because these are like kids' imaginations, like that's why they're weak, and then when the adult versions come in, like those are more powerful because they're more rounded or fleshed out nightmares of some sort. That could be interesting. They kind of clarify what Robin did in the break, so I'd suggest watching it. Really? Robin versus S. Bear is implied? Don't imply it. Show it to me. Let me see that. Like, that. Why would you cut that? Why would you cut past that? Like, yeah. I gotta leave on that. That's tired of this off-screen stuff. Show me what happened. implied in the last 30 seconds before the ep ends. Well, then the next episode better be all of that. Jacob said Oda sucked the air out of all the built-up mystery and tension. I remember the disappointment. Yeah. And to this day, I feel like it's still warranted. Like, you're not gonna sway me the other way on this one. Like, we should have seen all of that. Sidelining Robin is crazy. Happens too much. Happens all the time. So. DK said I made Randy rage quit. Yeah. Yeah. I will not be doing a live reaction to this episode. It's not going to be beneficial for anybody. I did a live reaction to 1089. That's it. Imagine wanting to see a Robin fight. Couldn't be our community. Couldn't be, right? Shout out to Alejandro. Alright guys, that's it for this week. I'll try and set up a theory for theory. We'll see if it works out. And then if that's the case, then we'll be here next Sunday. You're gonna skip this episode and leave everyone hanging as to your reaction, just like the chapter did to you. Hey, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
I've been swimming deep, deep. Savage.